So, Leonie, how was it growing up in the village for your experience?
Well, first of all, to start about I grew up in two villages. One is Dikia and the other is called Dilofos, and they're located in the northeast part of Greece, so very close to the borders with Bulgaria and Turkey. They're very far from the capital and quite far, like 8 kilometers from any other main city. So yeah, they're a bit excluded from the rest of the Greece. And yeah, growing up there was, yeah, as a child it was very beautiful. I have great memories from that place. It was quite crowded back then. I think around when I was a child, it was around like 600 people in the village my family lived, and the other village, Dilofos, is my grandma's village, is like 8 kilometers apart.
Yeah.
And it was back then maybe 100 people. Still quite a small village, but yeah, in comparison with now, it was quite bigger.
Yeah.
And yeah, back then there were a lot of kids, so we had kind of a feeling of safety in the village, and we used to play all day out on the streets, hide and seek in the whole village, just from morning to night, just running around and having fun.
Yes.
So I have very vivid memories, but and also my grandma's village. Like it was mostly old people, but there were some young people like me visiting their grandparents, and especially in the summers we used to meet there, and there was a small playground in the middle of the village, and yeah, we used to play all day long there. And there were already quite some abandoned places, so we're really going on exploring. Yes, and of course the river, which is crossing both villages. So we spend a lot of time there fishing, swimming, picnic. So it was good time, I think, as a child to grow up there. But the thing is now, when I visit, I have quite contradicting memory. Because at the moment, both places, because in the between years there was a lot of migration of people living. They have not even half the population. I mean, my hometown at the moment is maybe 300, even less people, and the majority of them are older people above 35. So I would say, like in my age, there are none people left, and maybe there's some younger kids, like 10 or maximum 15 young kids at the moment. And in my grandma's village, there are left 40 people, all above 50 at least. Like maybe there are a couple people that are 50 years old, but the rest are at least above 60. So, and a lot of them, since I remember, have died or have left the place, have moved. For example, older people move a lot with their families after an age, or in care homes, because they cannot live anymore alone. And a lot of the young people left because there were no jobs in the villages, and the cities, as I said before, they're not in such a close reach. Like we have Orestiada is 21 kilometers, but it's not considered a very big city. Yeah. So yeah, like with the years, every time I visit the place, it gets more and more desolated and abandoned, both places. And I see more and more businesses closing. Yeah. And like my perception of the place has changed a lot. Like I used to have these happy memories of growing up there with a lot of people, full of joy. And now I visit back and I see just kind of sadness, because the people who are left behind, they struggle a lot. The community has kind of break down. There are not enough people to sustain it properly. Yeah. Like shops have to close because people that don't buy. At the same time, then cafes, restaurants, everything closes because this is a circle in a sense. And yeah, like my family, my mother still lives there, and like her life is very simple. I mean, I wouldn't call it a bad life because people there are still very close to each other. It's really not like in cities or here. People will talk to each other. People will help each other in a difficult time. They will offer food. Yeah, it's still a close community. So life is good in that kind of sense. They don't stress. They don't struggle even with the whole economical crisis, which was actually the main reason most people left the past, let's say, 10 years. A lot of them, even like in Germany, Belgium, even here, to find jobs, because in Greece the situation was hard. But in my place, is not that visible in a sense that you don't see people on the street dying without food, for example. You don't see homeless people. The community doesn't let that happen. You know, they support each other. They have their own houses. They have their own gardens, so they can kind of self-sustain. Like they're never hungry.
Yeah.
So in that kind of sense, life is good, but is the quality of life is not anymore good.
It's taking less. Yes. Well, this is what kind of feeling does it give you when you come back there and things change like this?
Yeah, I think I feel sad. Like it has a blue tint to my feelings. It has. Because I know these people and I see how difficult the life has become. But also I know that this is gonna last a few more years, you know? Like my grandma's village, 40 people, they are all old, which means no people are born there. Yeah, no people stay there because there are no public services. There is no school in my grandma's village. There are no hospitals. Like people have to travel at least 80 kilometers for a proper hospital. There is one more hospital in the middle of the way, but it doesn't function properly.
Yeah, sure.
And so I know that in few years probably the village will be extincted.
Gonna extinct, yeah.
Yes, it's gonna be totally desolated, and it's just gonna be a memory of mine. You know, it's not gonna be there anymore. And my village where I grew up maybe will stay a bit longer because there are still some active people trying to keep the community as it is and make it work. And of course, there are still few public services left. Like we have a bank, we have a post, we have some basic public services, and that helps a lot to keep the village alive. But yeah, still, I would say if things don't change in the next maybe 10 years, the situation will be the same as my grandma's village. There will be only old people living there. And the problem is, you know, things could be better, but the government doesn't help at all these areas. Like we're very far from the capital, but also from all the main cities. So in a sense, we are not important to them, you know, since it's not that now there are no people there, but since back, I don't know, in the time of my mom, because I have heard stories and my grandma and so on, there was still no help, and that was one of the main reasons people start living from there. For example, there is constantly an overflow of the river, which has been ruining villages, the fields, and they have been saying that there's gonna be something done about it. It's been, I don't know, 50, maybe more years, nothing has changed in this area. The taxes are very high for villages. We pay for houses that our grandparents built, and of course they built big houses like 100 square meters and big yards and so on. But we pay the same taxes a person pays per square meter in a big city.
Yeah,
which is very devastating for people because they don't have jobs that pay that money, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, there's no transportation. Like there is one train per day
Yeah,
to go to
that's-
the
yeah.
capital, and there is no buses, like 2 buses a day. That's it.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a car, you're so far from everything. And yeah, the government doesn't help the situation at all. I mean, if they would try to leave the public services that were already there, because they are still trying to close everything, take away the post, take away the bank that's left, the hospital that is a bit closer by, like 80 kilometers from my place. They also try to close it, so they think that it's better if they move everything in big cities. But
Yes.
they don't consider these 50 small villages that are dependent in this one hospital that's in the middle, because otherwise, even for their medication, even for their simplest cough, you know, a cold, you have to
all
travel
the way to
2
the
hours. 2 hours to get to a proper hospital, you know.
So basically, the government is creating this problem still.
Yes, yes. It's, in my opinion, and how I see it, the government is one of the main reasons driving the people away from these areas, you know, because they're not interested. Although it's a very rich area, like agriculture, we have a lot of metals.
Yeah,
that,
mining.
yes,
Yeah,
mining.
Yeah, mining.
And yeah, they don't take advantage of it because it's too far to transfer in the main cities. So for them, there's
Yeah.
no profit.
Yeah.
So they don't want to create companies, or they close the ones that are there, and people lose their jobs,
Yeah.
and they're forced to leave. So yes, I mean that has been the case. I think since the creation of that place, because yeah, all the time I've been studying history in Greece. It's a very main subject. Like we hear a lot about you know, ancient Greece,
Yeah.
and what happened through the wars and how the changes have been. It's always about the main cities in Greece, you know, about Athens, Thessaloniki, some main islands, but you never hear how the smaller areas like have been affected from this situation. Because I do know that my grandparents and so on were forced to fight. Like my grandpa's sister, she was a bit older than him. He was a baby that time, but she was 12 years old. She was forced to fight. A bullet went through her head, lost both vision, both eyes, and she's since then like living, you know, a very difficult life, of course. But so these places have been participating, and they have been having difficult times, but this is never mentioned throughout the history, throughout books. Even if you go like few kilometers far away, a lot of people don't even know these places.
Yeah.
You know, they've never heard of them. They never
Maybe it's being done
read
on
about
purpose.
them. No, I think just like, I mean, I think it's similar in other countries too. That maybe the
Yeah.
focus usually goes in like, I mean, the history is kind of written by few
Yeah.
people, right?
Yeah,
it's
true,
it's
true.
it's focused on main events in main cities. How did that affect Athens? Yeah,
Yeah,
the main
exactly.
population of Greece, for example. Even now with the crisis, if
Yeah.
you see the Greek channels in the TV, all you hear about is Athens and some islands that have
Saloniki,
problem
yeah.
with refugees. My area have been having problem with refugees since I can remember, because of the river
it's-
and the point between Bulgaria and Turkey that connects it. A lot of refugees have been coming through, and there was no proper, like in the islands you see they have these setups for them to stay, to
Yeah.
offer them some food, but in my area there is nothing, you know, nothing. And people do help, like they will give some food, but at the same time they are a bit afraid, because when
They
you are
have
so
been-
far, you have no police, you have no help, you have no one to take care of these people.
What are you supposed to do with these people?
Yes,
With
exactly.
yourself, yeah.
Are you supposed to do
Government
what?
should take care. Yeah.
Exactly, there's no help, and you hear about these things nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, that there's not in the channels, there's not in the news. The government doesn't know. You know, it's kind of a blind spot there, and people have been trying to to fix things on their own. It's the only thing that still kind of makes me happy when I go back, because there are these, let's say, 20 young people that are left, and 5 in my grandma's village that came back to just live their quiet life. And there has been, I would say, lately a new movement, because everything had been abandoned when first people left, everything closed. The whole thing was being abandoned also from the people, because they were feeling a bit maybe desperate and sad with the whole situation. But now I see a movement that people are trying to revive these villages as much of course as they can, but they try to revive the traditions and do some small celebrations, so people from the rest of the villages, because my village is a head village, imagine, like is the okay village, the rest are
Barely
way
anything,
way worse. They have nothing. They don't even have a supermarket. So yeah, they're trying to bring these people together again in a sense of a community from all the villages as it used to be back in time. And they do organize some, for example, Christmas, little carols singing, and some dancing maybe, or some barbecue during summers for people
holidays.
together. And that is nice to see, because there is still a sense of community and there is still some efforts, but yeah.
People try to build a future for the villages.
Yes,
so,
yes, or at least to maintain that little that is still there, you know, for the people that
culture.
are there. Because some people are in a sense trapped there. They can go, they do live there, they do actually like their life there, but they cannot do anything about it, you know, to make it better. Because it's way out of their hands.
Yeah, of course.
And by that, it does help a bit, you know, the feeling of a community and let's organize something. I also see it from my mother, for example, who lives there, because a lot of times she complains to me about the routine that life has, you know, seeing again and again the same people, waking up, doing the same thing. There are no options like here. You don't have the option, I will go there, or you know, it's just the same and the same. So these kind of events bring a bit to people a feeling of happiness, you know, that nostalgia, that they're doing something different and that they do make a difference to the place they live.
Maintaining the culture also a bit. I
Yes,
guess the culture
yes,
changes a lot
because
when people go to the cities.
yes, these villages are very tradition orientated, maybe even a bit religious. I wouldn't say extremely, but there is a feeling of traditional religion, some very old traditions even before the religion, and it's nice to remember them and try to keep them alive, because they are important, I think.
Yeah, and these go extinct with the villages, of course.
Yes,
and
yes.
a big
The traditions go extinct. Maybe a lot of these villages have their own languages.
With dialects.
Yes, dialects that also go. And the history, I think, also goes extinct, because there has never been someone to record.
Properly document,
to record this history. So the
albums.
moment they are gone, it's like they never existed, you know? They just disappear. So, I mean, even now with the internet, I see there are some people trying to spread, you know, this feeling, and I do see a lot of messages of nostalgia. I do see a lot of people writing, oh yeah, I remember the times that I used to live in the village, and a lot of people, when I did this project, contacted me and said, hey, like I have so beautiful memories from this place. So I do see people missing their life there and have this feeling of nostalgia and love for places like that. And I do myself, like, I mean, no matter where I am, I will always have this place in my heart, because of, like, it's very intimate, the life in the village is very intense in a sense, because people are close to you, everyone is like your family, everyone is like a brother.